Jose, you had this great episode about overrated comedies. Little did I know this whole episode was dedicated to all my past jokes that I made on this podcast.
This
Out
is the
here.
Dan joke notebook.
Yeah.
So let's start at page 35.
Nice.
There you go. This is the one that he laughed way too loudly at his own joke and nobody else did. Welcome back to Not a Strong Start, a podcast by filmmakers who talk movies, television, and keep notebooks of all of our unfunny jokes. I'm your host, Laugh-A-Track.
I'm not your host. Haha, so funny.
And I'm the other guy, lampooning.
There you go. So in this week's episode, we're going to talk about overrated comedies. Now, comedy is so subjective, right? As we all know. But in this one, we're going to talk about ones that at least have been, there's at least a pretty strong fan base that claims that these movies are really funny. And we're here to tell you, no, they're not.
Yeah.
First,
And we're probably not going to agree with each other. Okay, let's change that probably to most likely we're not going to agree with
Guaranteed.
each other.
Guaranteed.
yeah, exactly. We're going to look to be catching strays in this one.
Yeah.
But first, we're going to hit you with our current event.
It was hard to miss this one, but The Last Scream was a success in the box office, and even critically, it did better than a lot of the other Screams, and people were excited for the new one due to some casting stuff that Spyglass has been doing, and now the two main characters are no longer part of the project. We won't get into the details of that. Their plan now, I guess, is to reboot it again and start fresh, do another story at this point. So what do you guys think? After finally breathing some life into what I considered a dead series of just being dragged along, now they're planning to reboot it again.
I like your description there about the franchise. It's okay. So I read this great quote that Edgar Wright said where he was like, look, there's movies out there, there's franchises that just really need to take a break. And like, I don't want to see them for a while. I don't need to see them at all anymore. Scream definitely falls in that category. Like, you really need to take a massive break from this thing. Like, you took a great idea, brilliant idea for the first movie, which we already talked about. Then you gave us a sequel and it was like, okay. Then you just kept going and going and going. And it's like, it's this whole new trilogy feels, it's awful. Like, I haven't liked the movies at all. I hope it goes away with this. The fact that they're going to reboot it, maybe there's some level of positivity if they're going to do something new with it, but they're not. So just no, man, go away. I mean, Jenna Ortega, good that she's not doing it because I feel like her career's taking off and going on better projects. Hopefully she keeps doing that.
I haven't cared about the franchise in quite some time. I mean, if anyone's watched our past episodes, I've talked about how this is an overrated film. So I'm okay with this. Sure. Let's put the axe to it. I am curious. I know what you said. We're not going to talk about it. Maybe off screen we could find, because this is news for me. We actually have a news segment that I am not privy to. So I'm curious, like, who the two stars are besides. So it's Jenna Ortega and someone else.
Yeah, and Melissa Barrera, is that her last name?
Yeah, I think maybe that
they play the sisters in the movie.
The two sisters, the two main characters.
I'm familiar with the storylines still because I got to keep up with that. But like, I didn't watch this one. I figure I'm gonna wait till it's like free on TV and I'll watch it then. But yeah, like I have no attachment to this at this point. Like I'm all for reboot, remake, give it 10 years, and then let's just see something new from this series.
So I watched the last two. The second to last one was horrendous, terrible. Which isn't saying much because the rest of the series, except for the first one, pretty much was on par with that. The last one I actually did enjoy. I felt with the change of scenery, they tried some new things. There was some good scenes. So I felt like it brought at least some freshness to a series that had absolutely no freshness at all since the first one. So there was promise there, and also promise of being able to continue with characters not named Sydney. Now that they are taking that and they're just gonna try to reboot it and do something fresh again, I feel they're gonna lose a lot of people and they're probably gonna go back to the crap fest that they had before the last one.
Here's a thought: make a new one and let Ghostface win.
They really should. Like, have we really seen a slasher movie where the bad guy just straight up wins and does it all? It has to have happened, but like nothing's coming to mind right now.
Sure,
I mean, if we go with the classics, in theory, they kind of always win because
yeah, but
you
I
don't
want
kill
to, like,
Mike Myers,
wins.
you don't kill Jason. You know, they always come back.
Technically, Freddy Krueger won. He did wipe out all the kids of that lineage. So he won his first mission. He just got greedy and wanted more.
He did, but it wasn't in the movie that we necessarily saw, right? Kind of, at least in the first one.
No, we saw
because it
him
was
kill...
Nancy, but he didn't kill Nancy in the first one.
No, he killed her by
he
part
did
3.
In the second one.
Yeah.
The third one.
The third, yeah.
I don't count the second. It's not a real movie.
All right. So do you guys want to get into our main topic?
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
All right. So comedy, like I said, comedy is very subjective on how we classify funny, not funny. How do you guys differentiate? Because when we started talking about overrated movies, how would you consider an overrated movie? Like, is it a movie that's maybe low budget and like, let's say it surprisingly did better than it did? Would you, but like, let's say you watched it and you didn't like it. Would you still consider that overrated? Or would you consider that like a gem?
I mean, for me, for overrated comedy, the way I was looking at it is this a movie that was generally praised by the masses overall? You know, something that's accepted as good comedy and funny more often than it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely like everywhere you turn, someone's telling you about this movie. It's just like you can't avoid it. Everyone's like, this is good. This is great. This is funny. It's like, all right, this one's like, you hear it so much, I gotta check it out then, I guess. And then you see it, it's like, that didn't live up to the hype.
Yeah, and then if I watch it and I am not laughing throughout it, if it can't muster more than like maybe a smirk here and there, then I consider it an overrated comedy.
Some of them, sometimes you don't even get a smirk out of it. So I'm just watching it, I'm just like that angry cat. It's just staring at his side. I'm just like, just arms crossed, so mad, just staring at the screen. I don't like it.
You know? If at one point you're watching it and you're like, I feel like I need to be under the influence of something, then it wasn't that funny of a movie.
Shouldn't be, yeah. You shouldn't have to. That shouldn't be a prerequisite to this, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the beloved comedies that you guys just think is just straight up not funny? You just didn't vibe with and you just thought it's lame.
First one, Zoolander.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I had that one too on my list. That was number one.
I gotta start with the obvious one. So Zoolander. Honestly, I've seen this 1.5 times because I saw it the first time and I'm like, this isn't funny. Like at most I was like, I like certain parts like, oh, made for ants. Okay, yeah. But besides that, and after I watched it, everyone was like, no, you got to give it another try. It's really funny. Like, you really have to try it. So I tried it again. I made it halfway through. I'm like, I'm not going to waste my time with this. Why am I laughing at guys making faces at each other? And it was just, I don't, not for me. I don't see what the hype is. You get your typical over the top Will Ferrell. And I think by that time I was Ferrelled out too. By the time I watched that one.
Okay.
I didn't watch Zoolander when it first came out.
Oh, okay.
No, I watched it later when everyone was like, you gotta watch it. It's so funny. It's so good. You know, if you like dodgeball, you gotta watch Zoolander. And I watched it and I was like, I don't see what this hype is. So I don't know. Did you guys find that one funny?
I watched it. I didn't like it either. I actually had that on my list as well. I like Ben Stiller. I just didn't really like Owen Wilson in this in particular. I think he's good in other projects. It's just in this movie, like you said, it's the whole male model thing. And they had like this, I just remember this one joke about where they're drinking tea or something like that. And it had Ben Stiller's real wife in it. And it's both of those characters. And they have like a,
they have that trip, that psychedelic trip.
Yep. The psychedelic trip.
And then they have they had a group inning with some little people.
There you go. There you go.
A fun fest.
Yes, a fun fest. When I saw that,
fun fest.
It was that part that took me out, and I was like, okay, I really don't like this movie. Like, I'm out. It's not funny. I'm not. This was to be like your big joke, and like it's not doing anything for me. So Zoolander, no, I'm with you on that. I didn't care for it.
It is crazy how that can happen. There's been other comedies before where there's been like one scene, and it's just like it just I'm out. Like I think the same thing happened with the movie Sausage Party. They also have a fun fest scene, but with food. And I was like, why? This isn't funny. Like this is you're doing this for shock value at all, not for comedy's sake. What about you, George? You're a Zoolander fan?
Well, much like Will Ferrell said in the movie Zoolander, Am I taking crazy pills? If I can quote the whole movie, I think that's exactly where I'm at when it comes to Zoolander. I am a part of the group that likes it. I also watched it right when it came out, so it was before the Will Ferrell hype. You know, this is when he was still on SNL and he was just kind of getting that traction. So I thoroughly enjoy it. It's actually a movie that me and my wife bond over. It's one of her favorite comedies also. So I'm not with you guys. I see why this is beloved by many. But hey, we're each gonna have one of these. You know, it's gonna happen. But I've always been more of a fan of Stiller when he does characters as opposed to when he plays it straight.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't mind when he does like meet the parents kind of thing. He's still great, obviously. But I think this is movies like this to me is where he shines.
He was great in Dodgeball. I loved him in Dodgeball.
Yeah,
when
yeah, he's wonderful in Dodgeball.
That's what drove me to watch this one. They're like, "Oh, if you love Dodgeball, you're gonna love Zoolander." I'm like, "No, not
like,
at all."
Jose, mira, look. Jose, mira, look. And they're like, "Oh, your eyes. You're trying to watch it." See, it's so funny, isn't it? It's like, no, it's not. No, it's
Dodgeball
not.
with models.
See, I wouldn't have told you that because they are not the same movie. They're not the same movie. It's not even the same comedy, to be honest.
No, that's what it is.
No.
Yeah. Here's one that I have. Okay. I think this one's pretty obvious to you guys. 21 Jump Street. Okay. The remake with Channing Tatum, you know, of course, and Jonah Hill. I just didn't think it's funny, man. They have like Ice Cube playing his typical just I'm a mean guy and I'm gonna say these little one-liners and just grunt through the lines. Like everything's just so typical. It's so cliche. The action is not good. It's just the storyline is just so generic. And it seems like they just set it up like, here, Jonah, go be funny. Channing Tatum, just act whimsical and act kind of bounce off of him with the jokes and just do frat boy humor. I'm not a big fan of frat boy humor. I don't like frat boy humor. It's just Channing Tatum comes off as so frat boy humor in this movie. It does nothing for me at all. I need a little more intelligence of some sort with this comedy, or even dumb comedy. I like dumb comedy, but even with really good dumb comedy, there's intelligence in the dumb comedy. This one just didn't even have that. It just felt like they're just prodding them with sticks and like, go say a joke.
I actually enjoyed that one.
Of course you did.
Of course you did, because you're a frat boy.
Because you're a frat boy and you love Rom Gronkowski.
I am a fat guy, but that's beside the point. I feel Jonah Hill always has good comedy. He does well. And then I feel Channing Tatum, I know you dislike Channing Tatum, so that's already against the movie before you even watched it. But I feel one of his strength is he actually has pretty good comedic timing in the things that he does. Yeah. And
Dan's eyes are getting tinier and tinier as you speak.
Yeah. I feel like as an actor, that's probably the only thing he has going for him is he can dance and he has decent comedic timing, and I think he played well off of Jonah. And there were some scenes where I was legit laughing during that movie. Is it an amazing comedy? No. But I laughed more in that, in like probably half of that movie than I did in the entire Zoolander movie.
And I gotta say, I'm with Jose on the part of it being funny, not the part of it being better than Zoolander. But it was one of those movies for me. Like I grew up watching 21 Jump Street, so I loved that show. And so I was like, when this was being made, I was like, this is stupid. Why are they gonna do this? They're gonna ruin a great show. And then I watched it, and I was like, damn, I think I'm kind of enjoying this. Damn it, am I laughing a bit? Is Channing Tatum entertaining? Because I don't hate Channing Tatum the way you hate him, but I never thought anything special about him. It's like, oh, it's that dance guy. Okay, what's he gonna do? And then I was like, oh, damn, he got actually some kind of talent besides dancing. I'm impressed. I didn't think this was gonna happen. This is like finding out Mark Wahlberg's funny. You know, it was within that kind of level for me.
Yeah.
And I've seen the second one too, and it's like, you know what? My name is Jeff. See, it's funny. Jose just laughed. You can't help what makes you laugh. That's the bottom line, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's if I see Channing Tatum attached to a serious movie, I'm like, oh,
I'm out. Yeah,
I'm out. But if he's playing a minor comedic role, like with it, it's like, okay, he's probably gonna make me laugh.
All right, it's time for you guys to hate me now. My pick for overrated comedy movie is Dumb and Dumber, the biggest staple from the Farrelly brothers. I think it's possibly one of the worst things that Jim Carrey has ever done. I've never understood why people love it so much. I've watched it even as an adult, and I was like, I don't get this. As a kid, I knew not to watch it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd watch some stupid stuff as a kid. It's just an annoying movie, and I'm just
I have a
annoyed by
question
it.
for you then. So you
Yes.
said this was possibly the worst thing he did. Do
Yes.
you like Ace Ventura more than this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I watched Ace Ventura. Here's how bad I think Dumb and Dumber is. I've watched Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls 1,000 times more than I'd ever want to watch Dumb and Dumber.
I've seen it 1,000 times. I've just seen Dumb and Dumber 3,000 times.
Yeah. I can't get behind this movie. And again, there's a lot of talent in it. I know that. The Farrelly brothers are amazing at what they do. Jim Carrey, that was top of his game when he made that movie. It was the trifecta: Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, and Ace Ventura. They were the best things that could hit the comedic world in movies. And I remember seeing this, I was like, what is this crap? Why is this happening to me right now?
Have you rewatched it recently or no?
I rewatched it back in 2015, 2016-ish. Yeah, and I despised it.
Wow, George. I can't believe that. I agree with you 100%. I really do not like that movie at all. I don't get it. I've watched it multiple times. I may have laughed maybe a couple of times here and there, maybe one or two, but nothing to the degree of what this movie is supposed to be. Like if you have people, the masses name like top 10 comedies, that one's getting thrown in a lot of the time. And I don't understand why. All I got from it is this is dumb. And then as it went through the movie, it got dumber. So
yeah, it lives up to the title. The title is apt. It's perfect title.
Yeah, and then I know a lot of people hated Dumb and Dumberer, like the one that they did. And I watched pieces of that. I'm like, this isn't that much worse than the original.
Yeah.
Neither of them are good, but it isn't that much worse. So I back you up on that. Give my stab to 100% Dumb and Dumber.
All right. So
Ace Ventura is way above it.
Okay, so this is where I battle you guys on. So Ace Ventura I watched a lot as well. To me, Dumb and Dumber is better. And I love Dumb and Dumber. It's ridiculous, but it's what I said before about the dumb humor. I love dumb humor. It could be dumb humor as long as there's some intelligence or something behind it. You have Jim Carrey, who's regarded as a really good actor, right? He does really good drama. We have Jeff Daniels playing off of him. That's a really good actor as well. So to see that portrayal by that actor is unique. And this was the first time that when I saw Jim Carrey, that scene where the bird, with the head, the bird's head is falling off. You see a dramatic moment from him where you see him like teary-eyed. That was the first time I was like, oh crap, this guy can act. That's when I realized he can do drama, was off of that movie well before he did any dramatic roles. Then when the other stuff started coming out, I'm like, dude, I saw it back in Dumb and Dumber. So there's talent there, but it's the reason why I bring up Ace Ventura is because even though I enjoy Ace Ventura, I don't know if Ace Ventura necessarily holds up to like the new.
No.
Yeah, I don't think it does either. So if somebody was to tell me Ace Ventura is trash, it's this, it's that, I can't disagree with you. But Dumb and Dumber is kind of like that as well. I can't disagree if you don't like it. If you said you didn't like There's Something About Mary, that's one where I'd start to argue and say, okay, there's a lot more intelligent writing in the comedy. Dumb and Dumber doesn't.
Good question.
Mm-hmm.
So in your argument for Dumb and Dumber, you named the actor talents and a serious scene.
Yeah, not a comedy scene.
Why,
not a
comedy.
I get it.
For why this is an overrated comedy.
So that's what I'm going to get into it.
Yeah,
so
at that time, he hadn't, like you said, he hadn't done anything serious yet. He was the comedic actor. Jeff Daniels was a serious actor.
Yes. Which showed to me the range of this. That's what I'm saying is like I saw a range of these characters. So it didn't feel like a scary movie type parody movie, and I'm talking about Scary Movie 5. It didn't feel like that was just dumb humor being slapped at you. Surprisingly, there was a little more range from the characters and from the actors that you knew was not in the script. There's no way the directors told them to do that. It was the actors bringing it out of them. Now, it with Dumb and Dumber, it kind of reminds me of like if you think fart jokes is kind of funny, or you think kind of acting really goofy and acting dorky stuff is kind of funny, then this would be more your type of comedy or at least humor. Now, if you don't think that stuff's funny, I would never recommend this to somebody like that because it's dumb. It's dumb comedy. It really is. It's just, in my opinion, it's done really well, but it's still very dumb comedy. So you have to be in a certain mood to watch it.
And I can see that. I like dumb comedy with balance. So
Yeah.
sprinkled in some dumb comedy on it, but movies that are fully dumb comedy, beginning to end, and that's what it hangs its hat on, and that's the main thing. I tend to not enjoy as much.
That
I
makes
like dumb
sense.
comedy in spurts, like, oh, that was good, and then we kind of shift. All right, so for my next one, and I think we've talked about this. I've mentioned this one before. Napoleon Dynamite.
Go.
What is the? I don't get it. I don't get. And then not only was the movie itself not funny, but then over time you just get bombarded with clips of this movie over and over again, and memes of this movie. It never gets funnier, like at all. At all. It has. Ah, I don't get it. I don't get it. Only line in it that I was like, eh, was like the milk line, and I was like, okay, yeah, but that was it. There's not once that I break into laughter in this movie. I don't. I know it's very dry, like humor, and I tend to enjoy dry humor, but they forgot the humor part.
Okay, Jose, when you see the clip when Uncle Rico throws a piece of steak and it hits Napoleon Dynamite in the face while he's riding a bike, that's not funny to you at all?
I didn't laugh. Maybe the by that point the movie had already
Yeah.
sapped
The
the
joy.
funny bone out of me. Yeah,
Yeah.
to enjoy any chance of laughing at all. But I don't get this one at all. And I know this one gets mentioned so many times.
Well, I gotta say, Jose, you've taken my number 2 away, so I have to hop onto another one when it's my turn. Because I'm with you 100%. I've never understood the hype behind this movie. It boggles my mind to this day. It got brought up to me the other day when I was at work. Where they're just talking about something like, George, you like movies. Remember Napoleon Dynamite? And I was like, damn, just when I forgot it. Okay, it's back. It's
Back in your life. Yeah.
I
I
remember
like.
watching that dance scene and being like, "What the hell am I watching right now?"
Oh yeah, the dance.
it's like he won.
Yeah. So there's funny. Okay, so I understand where you guys are coming from because when I first watched the movie, I didn't get it either, and it seemed like they were trying way too hard to do dry humor, and I hate forced dry humor. It's either dry humor or it's trash. Like you're right, like you either get it or you don't. This one felt like it was very forced. The more I watched it, the more I started seeing some of the charm about it. And there are some funny jokes to it. Like there's one where you have a bus full of kids riding on the freeway, and then you see a farmer that goes with the shotgun about to kill the cow, and as soon as the kids go past it, the guy shoots the cow, and then you see all the kids that are traumatized. That scene makes me laugh. So they have some funny moments to it, but it's not the stuff that they necessarily tell me that's funny. I found other jokes in the movie kind of funny. That's what I mean. So that's one that I've learned to like. It's not one that I love, but I also respect the crap out of that movie because it was done with such a shoestring budget. And the fact that it blew to this level from a filmmaking standpoint, that's phenomenal, man, because you did it with no talent. Like nobody knew who these people were.
No talent at all.
Except for the girl in Waterworld. The girl in Waterworld was in this, but like that's it. We didn't know anybody else in this movie. So for that, in that disregard, it's like I'd say I see it. That's where I defend it.
I can respect it for that.
Yeah.
Just don't think it's funny.
Yeah, I totally get it.
So I'm gonna go with my number 3 pick, which is Bridesmaids. Bridesmaids is a film that has been shoved in my face so many times. I watched it probably a good month after it came out because I was busy. But I saw it, and I love everyone in that movie too. I love Kristen Wiig. I like Melissa McCarthy, and like Chris O'Dowd from IT Crowd's in it. I was like, this has to be for me. I'm gonna love this movie. I remember seeing it and I chuckled maybe 2 times. And I was just like, why is everyone like going apeshit about this movie? Like, it's okay at best. This didn't change the world of comedy for me. It didn't like uplift anything. It's like, this is the hangover for girls. It's not meant for you. It's like, I guess not. But like, I have empathy. I could put myself into someone else's shoes. All right. It's like, I love rom-coms. They're some of my favorite films. It's like, but like this, I don't comprehend why everyone thought this was like the best thing ever. It's like the Silver Linings Playbook. Like, it didn't change my life.
I'm kind of middle ground here. I did enjoy it. I found it funny. So in that, I'm not on the same page with you. Is it overrated? That I can get on board because while I thought it was funny, not to the level that people put it up to be. So that's
Exactly.
where I'm in the middle ground. Because like the other two that I mentioned, I didn't find funny at all. This I found funny. I laughed at certain parts, but not like upper echelon like comedy.
Yeah, like I wouldn't put this with the other two, to be honest, in a sense. Like, there are moments, there is good performances. It's just I never, and maybe it's one of those things where if people didn't say it was as good as it was, I could have enjoyed it that much more. But it's just like it's like I said, turn everywhere you go and everyone's telling you like, this is a good movie, you need to watch it. And you watch it, you're like, did I need to watch it? It was okay. It happened.
Yeah. I felt the same way that Jose did. I thought it was pretty funny. I thought it was a little overrated. I think it got a lot of praise though because it was an all-female comedy, which we just don't get. And it's almost like like the way Barbie was, right? Like, hey, we have this big tentpole franchise film directed by a female with for the most part, a big female cast. I think I kind of like the idea that some of those get pushed so that hopefully studios do more of these projects. I think that's what Bridesmaids more of was, but I actually thought Mean Girls was kind of a funnier female comedy.
Oh, I love Mean Girls.
That's
a
what I'm
way
saying.
better movie.
That one to me was
I
better,
agree.
I thought, because it was better. It was, Tina Fey, so it was still female production,
Yeah.
female cast, female leads. I thought they did it really well. And that one to me was more like deserving, even though it got a lot of praise. I felt like that one was more deserving than Bridesmaids was for the hype that it got.
I could totally agree with that. 100%.
George brought up a good point, and I think it definitely, I think influenced the two movies the movies that I picked. But I think watching them post hype definitely influences how you feel while you're watching the movie and coming out of it. And both for like with Zoolander and Napoleon Dynamite, I didn't watch when they first came out. I watched after the hype as a
That's
recommendation.
smart. And Napoleon Dynamite specifically is one that if it's overhyped, it's going to be complete trash. So
Yeah.
I completely get it. I have one that's more controversial, and I have one that Jose is going to completely disagree. George, you pick which one I should go with.
I mean, will the controversial one have both of us go against you?
It depends if you guys have seen it. Maybe you, George, because it's a
one.
big one. It's a big one. So let's go with the controversial.
Let's go with the big one. Let's go with the big one.
Let's go with the big one. So here's a comedy
what she said.
classic, a comedy gem that a lot of people say that it is, and I had not seen it. Maybe I saw it as a kid, and I saw it semi recently, and I just didn't think it was that funny. The movie The Jerk with Steve Martin. I saw it. I didn't think it was that funny. It was the beginning part where he's growing up around the African American family was funny to me. There you go. When I started watching his character is so dumb that it just kept taking me out because it wasn't a real believable character. So the same thing that you guys are going to tell me, it's the equivalent of Dumb and Dumber. That's what I'll say. It's Dumb and Dumber characters. You have a character that's not believable. They don't exist in our reality because they act so zany and dumb. But yet you guys found the Jerk charming, but yet I found Dumb and Dumber charming. So there you go.
Well,
There's
let's not put words in my mouth here, okay?
No, he's putting it in my mouth.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I said.
So-
George is the one that's going to disagree with me. I
Yeah.
don't know about Jose.
Oh, fuck,
Jose,
man.
I'm not sure where you're going to lean.
Well, with the Jerk, it's hard. I watched that very young as a kid, and I remember
Yeah.
enjoying it as a kid. I've never watched it as I got older. So I don't know. My humor, my comedy has changed from when I was a little kid to, as I got older. So I don't know if it would be funny to me now, but I haven't watched it since I was I don't know, maybe 7 or something like that. Like it's a long
Huge
time ago.
difference, my man. Huge
Yeah.
difference when you're an adult watching it, especially in today's era of stuff where I was like, not
So
that
so I
funny.
know I was entertained by it back then, but I can't argue against you now because it's been too long.
The way you got like nostalgic about the guy shooting a cow in front of kids in a school bus, and you just got full of joy as you were saying the jerk. I'm just thinking of the scene when he's at his job and he shows in the bathroom and he's like, "This is gonna be your room," and he's just like, "Oh my god, there's so much space," and the guy's looking like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "Oh, I could do so much stuff with this," and it's like, no, he opens the door and it's like, no, this closet is gonna be your room, not this bathroom, like, you idiot. And like the whole scene is just wonderful. And Steve Martin, I don't know.
I love
You
Steve
brought
Martin.
up a good point. And here's the funny thing. I love The Jerk growing up as a kid. So in turn, that's what made me think I would like Dumb and Dumber, because there is that similarity of how they would play out with that dumb humor. Because I'm not opposed to dumb humor. I grew up like on Beavis and Butthead. That's some dumb humor right there. You know, and I loved it. I feel like The Jerk is a little bit smarter than Dumb and Dumber. Like, just, I think pound for pound, it's just a better movie. But good, it's a good point. It's a good point. I'll give you that.
Because it feels like that, like the Dumb and Dumber. That's why I say I can't argue if people think it's trash. Like, I get it. There's nothing that I can like argue with you to try to tell you why it's a great movie. It's not. It's really a preference thing. And with The Jerk, it just feels like a very one note, one dimensional character, and it feels like a great skit. There's some funny jokes in it, don't get me wrong, but that's why I'm not saying movies that I hated. It's just I just think it's overrated because it's talked about so much as one of the greatest comedies we've ever seen. And when I see a lot of outdated jokes, running jokes that are just being repeated, and just a dumb character that just doesn't, just nothing. There's no intelligence going on, which
Admittedly,
I understand, but
it could be a segment of just like movies that just don't hold up over time.
yes,
You know,
because there's a lot of
in its era, it's like it's inarguable that it was a great movie in its era.
yes, but now the jokes are very controversial, and like if you try to make some of those jokes, you would get canceled in a heartbeat.
I like
Many
that.
of the
See, that's the
movies from
thing.
that time frame.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
exactly,
that kind of
yeah.
humor till this day.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that's the reason why I had it here. I'm not saying that at all. Especially then, because you don't know, right? That comedy was widely accepted. So how are they supposed to know about cancel culture and everything? Like, that's two very different things. Do you guys want to do a quick little? We won't even rebuttal and talk about the movie. You guys just say it in a quick couple of sentences.
I'm curious
Yeah.
of what the one you were gonna have that Jose would have
I have a
disagreed
few.
with.
I have a few, but okay.
For my last one, real quick, I have a feeling that you're both not going to agree with me. I'll have to go with Robin Hood Men in Tights. Honestly, I don't get it. I don't find it funny. Does it have some entertainment factors to it? Yes. Is it hilarious? No, not to me. It isn't. And I know I've talked to so many people who have loved that movie and always talking about how funny it is and all of that. And it was just one of the ones that I even actually tried to rewatch it earlier this year just in case. And it was just stone face the entire time at all. No, I don't get it.
You know what, man? I was gonna say every Chevy Chase film in existence, just to really mess with everybody, because goddamn, he's not funny. But I'm gonna follow you, Jose, and I'm gonna piggyback with The Princess Bride. I could just
Ooh,
never get
that's gonna
behind
be
the.
very controversial.
Yeah, and no one can argue with me because we don't have time for it.
Yeah. Dan, what's yours?
All right. Okay. So I'm just gonna blur out two real quick. Okay. Pitch Perfect, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Didn't think they were that funny. And Pitch Perfect just felt over glorified and felt like the same thing where like I'm watching and it's like too many people telling me that it's funny. And like I just didn't feel it. Tucker and Dale versus Evil, like it was another one that was overhyped, and I watched it. And I'm like, it's dumb comedy. If you guys notice a theme between all of our movies, we all pick dumb comedy movies. They all have, for the most part, they all have dumb comedy, and we're realizing how that is by far the most subjective thing, because some of us think it's funny and some of us just think it's dumb as hell, and yet not very many of the movies are we all like completely saying you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Like we're saying I could understand, I thought it was hilarious, I thought it was funny, but I get why you don't think it's that great.
I think we ended on the right ones. Or for the ones with no argument,
argument,
we probably
yeah.
would have
We're all
been going a lot longer on
Yeah.
these.
Exactly, because I know Pitch Perfect and Tucker and Dale, I know Jose loved, but too bad we don't have any time. So thank you for watching another episode of Not a Strong Start. You can like, subscribe, comment, share on our YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. Listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter, Not a Strong Start. You can tell us how wrong we are on the comment section, please, or if you agree with us. I'm your host, Laugh a Track. You can follow me at King_Sangre.
I'm not your host. Haha, so funny. And you can find me at This Is Mi Nombre on Instagram.
And I'm the other guy, Lampoonin. You can find me at Nicolopolis everywhere.